This video is going to be my reaction to the Ravens' 27-20 loss to the Chiefs Thursday Night Football NFL opener. I titled this one "The House Always Wins" for a couple of reasons. It's not as much of a reference to the Chiefs as it is to the NFL. I'll get more on that later. You probably understand where I'm going with it if you know anything about betting, gambling, or casinos. I thought it was an incredible performance by Lamar. I think he generated almost 400 yards of offense by himself, likely operating to the boundary as a tight end in those 12 personnel sets. What I mean by that is ball on the hash, likely's into the boundary, took advantage of that space, 9 catches, I think 111 or 113 yards, 2 touchdowns, nearly a third on the game-tying touchdown. Rough break for a guy who had, a huge outburst of production on a worldwide stage, I should say, and he put on a show. He had moments tonight where likely dominated once he got the football. He's a very unique player once the ball is. It's before the ball gets in his hands. Likely, he's a guy who seems to be able to catch and turn as the ball's before the ball's even arrived, and then be able to make his cut. He's almost prepared to make his cut before he catches the ball. Perhaps I'm not explaining it well, but it's a unusual dynamic. He's got great hips and great feet. Lamar found him into the boundary a lot. Lots of issues to talk about in this game for the Ravens. O-line play, inconsistent at best and just downright porous at others. The 4th and 3 play call in the first half came back to haunt us a little bit. It's probably not what I would prefer that we do. It doesn't necessarily bother me too much. We're trying to score. We're trying to retain possession of the ball. We trust Lamar. We put him in the shotgun by himself, kind of hide Flowers. But throwing the ball that far behind the line of scrimmage to Flowers in a position where anyone who's advancing can make a play. And at that point, the Chiefs they were closing down. They were closing space quick. One thing that we noted in our Discord was they looked faster and more physical, I thought, through about a quarter and a half. And what I mean by I'm talking about the Chiefs' defense against our offense. The missed field goal also hurt by Tucker. Don't get me wrong. But on that drive, I may be wrong here. I believe that we had a completion to Andrews that got us to like the 22, maybe 25. Would have put us in much better field goal range inside of Tucker's 90 to 95% range, whatever you want to call it. And then a penalty forced us back. I don't know about you. I'm really frustrated with the officiating. I thought it was terrible for real. And again, it's a reference to this video. No one will be talking about the penalties on Ronnie Stanley, Patrick McCarry, and a few others. A real disparity, in my opinion, of the way of enforcement. Meaning, and we all know it's a year ago to the day almost, or a year ago to the week, where their right tackle, Juwan Taylor, everyone on social media talking about how he's lining up. What they did tonight is a reaction to that. By calling it, I think the NFL was trying to dissuade players from doing it. Juwan Taylor still kept doing it. He did get called for it twice. I thought we got called for it 5 times, and 1 time it was declined. I could be wrong. You guys are welcome to let me know in the comment section. And, hey, it might have been 6. I thought they were. I understand that you may not want to listen to me complain about the refs. I get it. Because of the finish, no one will generally because of the finish. Likely is ruled to have come down out of bounds. His toe or the tip of his shoe, I guess, is out of bounds. I don't know about you, but as they were showing the different replay angles, I was hoping for like a low angle that showed the shoe like elevated above the white, and I just didn't see that. I thought it was a good call. I understand that you may not. Chiefs prevail 27-20 on opening night. I will mention one thing that doesn't have anything to do with the result of the game. Did you notice what the Chiefs did on kickoff? Because they have a great defense, they just kicked it in the end zone. That seemed quite intentional to me. Did we have one return tonight? Maybe we had one. I don't recall exactly. But if we had one, it was only one. So the NFL has created this dynamic kickoff that many of us talked about in the beginning was ridiculous. And you can see how teams can push it. It would not surprise me if at some point during the season here, the NFL changes the rule and says if you kick it out of the end zone, the team gets to start on the negative 40, which would be ridiculous. The lack of foresight by the NFL, it really doesn't surprise me, to be honest with you. Other guys let's talk about Lamar first. I thought you could see the drive to win. We've known he's a competitor and makes plays with his feet, makes plays with his arm and his head sometimes in terms of recognizing something pre-snap or post-snap and then making a play. I thought tonight there was an extra gear to the motivation level, to the competition. Yes, he's lighter and possibly quicker, so maybe that's what I'm seeing, but He made plays with his legs. I believe he ended up throwing for 272, one touchdown. Yes, the 272 is a little bit misleading. Don't get me wrong. He had a 49-yard touchdown to Likely, and then the one to Bateman for 38 yards. A great catch by Bateman along the right sideline. Really cool that we had some young guys make plays tonight like they did, Likely and Bateman, even though Bateman only had 2 catches. Otherwise, you're talking about a lot of short throws early, including what I would consider almost an overusage of Zay Flowers. Look, Zay's a great player, great talent. I'm glad we got him. But so many of the short screens, the 4th and 3 play kind of puts it over the top in terms of frustration for me. Now I understand some of those plays are 2 plays in one. There's a run play to one side and a screen to the other, and Lamar is electing to take the screen based upon the numbers. I got it. Well, then I think we should maybe cut out the 3 or 4 design screens at times. And I think he got 10 targets and 2 handoffs on run plays, and I think he generated 52 yards of total offense, something like that. So it's not like we had a tremendous amount of offense generated from his 12 touches or 12 opportunities. I'm not saying he shouldn't get the ball, but I think there's other talent on the field who should get it. We just have so many guys who can contribute. I didn't like the 4th and 3 play call. Like I said, I will address the officiating one more time, but I think it has to be mentioned. Our defense, I thought it was incredibly poor between the 20s. We looked slow at times, and we looked very reactionary. No one seemed to be attacking. And once again, I thought that we were letting people get free releases constantly. Rashee Rice beating us on the same concept, pretty much lined up in the same place. I thought was embarrassing. I understand we did force 2 punts in the second half, so we can focus on that and say, okay, we did get the ball back for the offense. Trenton Simpson makes an amazing play that nearly ends up, I guess, possibly an interception, right? The Mahomes pass to Mahomes. I think there's a lack of communication pre-snap. And at this point, after one regular season game, I'm going to officially tell you I'm 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 concerned about the lack of communication pre-snap. Maybe you can let me know that I didn't see it accurately. And there was more communication pre-snap than I'm recalling. But I thought we appeared frozen and incapable of adjusting to what I think are obvious indicators there pre-snap. Roquan in the post-game interview said it would be the worst that the Ravens defense played all season, and he better be right, because I don't think you could get much worse. We allowed the Chiefs 7 yards per play. The Chiefs only had 72 rushing yards, but we got beat on the same route out of empty, I think 4 times by Rashee Rice. I've got nothing good to say about the way we covered it. You can focus on players if you want to. Trenton Simpson, Roquan Smith, Malik Harrison, the inside linebackers, go right ahead. But really we should be discussing the inability of someone to set up a defensive system to adjust to the same. Let me ask you this. If they lined up in that formation and Rashee Rice ran the same route 5, 6, 7 times in a row, wouldn't we expect our defense to have an answer at some point? How far into those, let's call it 7 plays in a row, how far into those 7 plays in a row do you think we have to go before there is some type of natural adjustment that takes it away? At the NFL level, if we want to be a really damn good defense, it better be 2. Maybe the 3rd. Maybe. And for my money, from what I saw tonight, I don't think that we adjusted until the 5th or maybe 6th time we saw it. Malik Harrison made a great effort on one of them, maybe mid-3rd quarter. And Trenton Simpson had a PD, a pass defense on one of them. He defended extremely well. He's just quicker. There's no leverage help for the inside linebackers there. None at all. And in this case, Simpson, defended it quite well. I want to talk about the big plays by Xavier Worthy. Look, the reverse was wide open. 4.2 speed, 4.3, 4.5 probably could have got the job done. That's how open that reverse looked to me. The touchdown pass by Mahomes up the right sideline to him, I mean, it's wide open. Did we even have 11 players on the field? I'm not sure about you. If you noticed it earlier in the game, we had 10 players on the field on defense. And maybe we had 11 on that touchdown pass to Worthy up the right sideline, but it certainly didn't look like it. I haven't seen a replay beyond what the broadcast showed. Humphrey, appears to be playing cover 2 to his side because the running back motion's over there. It's a low bar at this point in time, if you ask me, to put us in a lot of conflict and make us look frozen. And, we've played 60 minutes of football against the 2-time defending champs, so maybe you think that's an unfair analysis. That's the standard. I think, to win a Super Bowl, and we didn't live up to that standard. In fact, I think defensively, for probably 60% of the game, we were not even close. Between the 20s, I thought we were horrible. Once the space was compressed inside the red zone, maybe inside the 15, the 18, I thought our defense looked more comfortable. But that's the dynamic that I saw. Simpson, batting the pass up in the air, he splits a sack. He also had a run tackle. He did get juked by Pacheco cleanly one time. Have to give credit to Mahomes on that batted pass by Simpson. He outjumps us. Got great hands, obviously. He handles the ball on every play. That if were that to fall just incomplete, that could have saved us, I think, 13 seconds there at the end, maybe even more. Meaning we wouldn't have had to get down to the 2-minute warning. We could have had more time at the end. The late game situation, I do wonder whether we should just go up and clock it once the ball was on the 10. We did get a playoff. We had some throws that didn't connect. The throw to Likely in the back left corner of the end zone, I think that ball's overthrown. Lamar, maybe he's fading on that one. Perhaps I'm misremembering that. It's a later. It's a throw that's later in the play, meaning that the progression of the play is over, I think, and Likely and him are adjusting. Let's put it this way: if he completes that pass to Likely in the back left corner of the end zone, that's an iconic play, and we're talking about Lamar Jackson, who's had probably 100 iconic plays in his career at this point. The one to Flowers over the middle of the field, I may have misheard Lamar in the press conference. It sounded like he said that one wasn't intended for Zay, and I could be wrong with the way that I heard that. I don't care who it's intended for. If it is, let's do it this way. If it is intended for Zay, I think he's throwing it expecting Flowers to sit down, and Flowers kept on running. But who knows? Again, it was in the press conference near the end of Lamar's remarks. So, and then the Likely throw at the end is just a brilliant play by Lamar. Our pass pro is very questionable on two of those plays. I think we have the running back dealing with the edge defender who happened to be Chris Jones. Now, look, Jones was gassed. Two of those reps on that drive, he had nothing. And then he went off the field, came back, and for that first rep when he came back on the field, he was all in, 110% effectiveness and able to get in collapse the pocket somewhat and make Lamar get on the move. But we wore them down. And I did not think they had the same level of depth. I thought Leo Chenal played a really nice game for them. Lamar escaped him multiple times, but I understand why they had him from an athletic standpoint trying to deal with Lamar. For an offense and defense, I will say it's paradoxical almost. I think our margin for error on defense looks smaller, and our margin for error on offense looks bigger. And what I mean is the talent and big playability of Likely. Derrick Henry, who only ran for, I think, 46 or 44 yards tonight, but a couple 13 carries, 46 yards. A couple of those runs. Look, there's a fourth down run in there where a D tackle flashes and basically makes contact with him. Just a quick sidestep to juke the guy, but he's still coming downhill. Henry's still getting downhill while he makes that cut. I thought there was a second one where an inside linebacker flashed early, and Henry's able to make one cut, still get 3 or 4 yards out of it when it really could have been and should have been a 2-yard loss. Justice Hill, I thought, had 2 catches on third downs. Bateman, 2 big catches. Well, I guess 1 big catch, and then he had a curl route on the right-hand side. So we have a lot of depth on offense. So when I say the margin for error on offense looks larger, that's what I mean. Unfortunately, we got the O-line issues that I don't have 5 minutes to spend on it here. You don't want to listen to it because I'm sure everybody's complained. We have to solve it. And the guys, we have so many guys tonight that were like, they end up leaning out, caught over their feet. Like just simple swipe moves by Chris Jones and others. Our guys were like over-committing to an inside step. They seemed like guys that were scared about getting beat to one side with speed and athleticism. So they would overcompensate on the initial step. And then those swipe moves would just, they looked devastating, but they were just very simple. The O-line's got to be improved upon at all costs, or this offense could be pulled down by it. I'm just going to say it, the talent that's here on this offense and the way that the position player talent and Lamar, the way he looked tonight, I think they could average 28, 29, 30 points a game. The Chiefs are a tough matchup defensively. The Chiefs, made some tactical decisions to not bring pressure as the game wore on. Why? Were they tired? Was it a depth issue? Did they feel like, well, we're getting home with 4, so why do we need to bring more pressure? I'm not so sure that I believe it's the last one. but I'm open to the idea that that's a possibility. Spagnuolo and those guys said, "Hey, we're winning 2 of these matchups on every play. Why do we need to bring 5 or 6?" I don't think that was the case. I thought our offense wore them down. So again, 72 plays ran. We scored 20 points tonight, finished with the ball on the 10. Well, finished with the ball in the end zone. I thought we could have scored 10 to 14 points more easily tonight on a night where we had poor offensive line play, in my opinion. Andrews falls down on a 3rd and 4 where he easily could have converted. I think the very next play is one of the plays I'm talking about with Derrick Henry where he converts. 12 personnel looked effective. I don't know what the yards per play were, but likely into the boundary and Andrews to the field, it kind of limits Andrews. He's dealing with the nickel a lot of times. He's dealing with a little bit more athletic coverage member of the Chiefs defense, of any NFL defense, than the inside linebackers likely was dealing with and abusing into the boundary. The under center stuff that we ran at times was effective, but the Chiefs were trying to collapse on it. That's part of the idea. We want the play action to hit a few times. Likely the first play of the game it hit. Bateman had a play action. Right-hand side later on, about 14-yard gain on a curl. Getting back to the refs. Well, let's do this. Let's look at the first possession as an indication to what I'm talking about. Here's the first possession of the game, culminating with Henry's 4 or 5-yard touchdown run, actually. We convert a 3rd and 11 here. Interesting to me, completion to Justice Hill. Lamar seems to target that backside running back often when it's 3rd down. I don't know about you. I was pissed off on the 3rd and 9 from near midfield where we have the deep throw to Flowers. It's obviously a DPI, and they called Ronnie Stanley in the backfield. Now, the ref called the penalty on Stanley well before Flowers was interfered with, right? So there's no cheating going on there, but the application and enforcement was so inconsistent. Well, it was consistent against Ronnie Stanley, but it was inconsistent against Jawan Taylor. And I don't know about you, if that is the type of officiating that's going to happen, we do not have a legitimate league. We don't. And there may be Chiefs fans listening to this song who say that's hyperbole, but if it's going to be officiated so inconsistently, you can look at I've already seen pictures on social media of these guys, and it's obviously pictures from tonight because it's got Jawan Taylor playing right tackle against David Ojabo or Owe or Kyle Van Noy in Ravens uniform, the road jerseys. It's obviously from tonight's game. It's not from last year against the Lions when Jawan Taylor did the same damn thing probably 20 or 25 times and didn't get called for it as many times as Stanley did. Oh, they want to enforce the rule now. Those guys looked awful surprised by it. That's all I'm going to say. Refs go to practice. They do. Refs go to practice. I thought it was an egregious thing by the NFL, by the officials that were there. In any case, you do have a 19-yard completion to Flowers on the very next play after that 3rd and 9. That's a DPI to against the defender guarding Flowers. Over the middle, big catch, pretty much wide open. Henry had some moments tonight, 6-yard gains, 5, 6, 7-yard gains. Didn't get anything generated big because it seemed like he was having to dodge people or juke or make a move at or 1 yard past the line of scrimmage, and we would prefer for it to be a little bit deeper. So, again, the offensive line issues, I think, are obvious. Zone read keep. Likely's blocking tonight was spectacular. It's a dual read play, this 3rd and 1 from the 34. It's a dual read. Lamar and Likely are both reading the edge defender. That's why Likely loops around. Chris Collinsworth got it wrong. He's like, oh, the edge defender thinks he's going to kick him out, and Likely is looping around. No, he's not, Chris. He's reading it. It's called a dual read play. And it's a zone read by Lamar. The tight end / H-back is reading it, looping around, and leading for Lamar out to the edge. It's the same thing that he decked George Karlaftis on, he being Likely, decked him on later on in the game. Gets us down to the 14. QB counter gets us 8 yards, and then Henry scores on the next play. I mean, there's a little bit of smash mouth there. Modern manner of doing so, don't get me wrong, with the dual read and other concepts. But that was fun to watch. We certainly had other possessions where we were able to move the ball on their defense. I do not think that the offensive line can just organically get better quickly. Ravens cleared up cap space. It's probably a good idea to look at ways to improve the offensive line. I don't know where that is. Right guard. We'll see how it grades out. I don't grade the offensive line, but I know guys who want to. I think that that might be something that pops up on the channel sometime later in the weekend. A full grade of the offensive line. So the Ravens are able to overcome, I think, a lot of factors. Turning the football over, the strip sack, missed field goal, the referee disparity, in my opinion, and then our defense's inability to get stops early on. The Chiefs go touchdown, punt, field goal, field goal. So they score 3 of their first 4 possessions. We were fortunate, I think, that it was only 13 points after 4 possessions. And then the interception, Mahomes, again, the announcers, I think, are off base. An ill-advised and rare decision by Mahomes. No, it's not. Patrick Mahomes does those things all the times. I don't want to say take chances, but there are times where he is throwing the football and he knows there's pressure nearby, but he's trying to get the throw off quick. Call it taking a chance, call it a bad decision. I really don't care, but the type of throw that Roquan intercepted, you see those throws by Patrick Mahomes at least 2 times a game, if not more sometimes. I'm not talking about 5 times a game, but there's 2 or 3 of those examples per game. I'm talking about when there's teams that get pressure on him. When there's no one pressuring him and the Chiefs win by 30, of course he's not doing those things. But that's not ill-advised and it's not rare. It's characteristic of what Mahomes does at times, and it oftentimes works out in his favor. Think of 2 of the plays that he made to Kelsey in the playoff game last year. I thought defensively, even though we were very poor, Simpson made some plays. We did hold Kelsey to 3 catches for 34 yards. Kelsey looked a little slower to me than last year. There didn't seem to be that burst when he wanted to put his foot in the ground and get horizontal or vertical. We did have 2 sacks. Ojabo and Owe at times really, I thought, gave their rookie left tackle problems. Matabike had a half a sack. I think Matabike also was the one who got the penalty. To me, it looks like he's trying to knock the ball down. Happens to hit the helmet. I guess at this point they've got to call it. Our margin for error overall is probably smaller than we want it to be as Ravens fans because of the O-line issues. And right now, the defense, to me, looks like a defense that doesn't play well between the 20s. In all that space where there's vertical space to threaten. Was it our play calls defensively, meaning were we in a lot of too high looks and therefore were a man down on some of those underneath concepts? It's possible. Maybe we were worried about Xavier Worthy. But the Chiefs kind of nickeled and dimed us to death, I thought, oftentimes. And credit to Mahomes. He made plays. Perhaps his biggest, besides the touchdown pass to Worthy, perhaps his biggest play was catching that ball and just north of the 2-minute warning that Simpson batted up in the air, because that was able to allow 13 or 14 seconds to expire. And we could have gotten another play out of at the end of the game, in my opinion. I think the game ends on a 3rd down, right? So we're obviously disappointed. We should be. But there are some positives to take from this. We have an absolute competitor in Lamar Jackson. And another one on the other side, Roquan Smith, who is going to be pissed off about the way that this ended. Maybe the way they played individually at times, although I thought Lamar was amazing. Kyle Hamilton did not play a great game. I thought there was 2 examples of Kyle Hamilton where he looked a little bit out of place, a little bit out of sorts. So there's a lot of guys who have to rebound. We get home next week against the Raiders, and they're a tough defense. I really like Antonio Pierce and what they've done with him. If you don't know, they finished, I think, the last 6 games of the regular season last year with the lowest points per game allowed in the league during that span, I should say. So a formidable threat on defense again, and certainly they're going to look at some of the things the Chiefs did, and they bring pass rushers to bear as well. You guys let me know what you think about some of my thoughts. Maybe I focused on the officiating too much, but if you stuck around this long, I'll reveal it to you. I consider it to be shading. And if you have any familiarity with the NBA's referee scandal from the mid-2000s or 2000 to 2010, shading is the right word, because you can shade the early part of the game and put our offense at a disadvantage, which is what happened. Meanwhile, allowing the Chiefs' offense, specifically the right tackle, to continue, and left tackle to an extent, but mostly right tackle Taylor, to do the same things and get away with it and not have that barrier, not have that, quote, glass ceiling that they have to deal with, capping them. So that's my final thought about the referees. Totally impressed with the way Lamar played. I'm not dismayed about the Ravens' finishing record. We got a really difficult schedule. To go on the road, football opening night, lose to the Chiefs by 7, there's no such thing at all as a loss that you feel like good about. But there is a lot to have enjoyed tonight. The ending was unfortunate. I think it was the right call based on the angles that I've seen, but it shows us the type of talent that we've got, and the guy that's leading the way in Lamar, who really wants to go into Kansas City and get a win, and hopefully he gets another opportunity to later this year or early in 2025. Appreciate you guys' time, man. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this reaction video, albeit one that's late, I'm sure, compared to other people, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.